So we know that the Most High God has given the format, or if you want to call it the gospel, or the word to all his people and all its generations. All traditions of men and women have received this gospel or roadmap, but it differs based on their tradition, because all generations of man had been removed from interior or internal worship, where they were just connected to the divine, where heaven and earth was already merged together, and they moved to external worship, where now they had to use earthly things to represent superior things. We were more doctrine based. Exterior is more earthly. Interior, or what they call rational, is more spiritual. Internal is celestial. But now the ego of the man, which is a byproduct of his fallen state, allows him to think that his representative is the real representative of the superior, and not the other person that's across the country or across the world. And I'm hearing a lot from the Hebrew community, especially people saying my information, our information. There is no information that belongs to any set of people or any specific vessel. Yes, the Hebrews are from the lineage of those first people in this cycle that received the information first. Doesn't mean it's ours. All information, celestial or spiritual, belongs to the Most High God. You have the Gobi, you have the Atlantean cycle, all the same information. They all went through the same cycle as us, and their vessels were vastly different from the vessels that we have today. So my main thing is for people to get out of their representation of the superior is better, or the only representation, and the information is mine. The information is there as a roadmap for your regeneration, your resurrection. That is the only reason the information is there. And then once you begin to merge your heaven and earth, your external representation becomes void. You no longer need it anymore. So that shows you the importance of saying, my Christ is better, my Buddha is better, my Muhammad is better. Once you have totally merged heaven and earth and begin to get celestial and spiritual influx, you no longer need an external representation of the superior. Now when you've done this, you no longer need the middleman, you no longer need the representation. The Most High will pour the wisdom and knowledge of celestial and spiritual things directly into your vessel. Seal portion, chapter 14, verse 6. And according to these cultures and traditions, we have been taught the gospel of Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, this gospel is not called the gospel of Jesus Christ according to the traditions and customs of the many different peoples of the world. It does not matter unto the Lord in what name he is called, for it is his desire to give unto all the laws of his gospel. Let these laws be called by whatever name they might be called. And also, let him be called by whatever name he may be called according to the different cultures and traditions of the children of men. So the names and the traditions doesn't matter. It's the gospel which leads to your regeneration. What is the gospel? Gospel is the message of wisdom from within to acquaint the soul of its divine nature, its purpose, and its destiny. And I want to be clear, when I say the name doesn't matter, I mean in terms of different religions or belief sets arguing over who is the real representative for the Most High. Because there are different names for different essences or different offices of the Father that you could access by using different names like Jehovah, El Shaddai, Adonai. So there are different names that have different vibrations that you could tap into. But when we mean the names doesn't matter, we mean in terms of people wrestling over the images or the names of the image that they use to represent their belief or their religion. Now I gave you a precept from the seal portion. Now I'm going to give you a historical fact, because I can't just say anything. With the spirit of truth, I have to give you proof. I can't just say anything here that is my opinion. I have to give you everything, prove it to you, and allow you to go make truth become true to you. This book is called Faith of Man, Encyclopedia of Religions by J.G.R. Furlong, published in 1906, London. As regards to the similarities between the legends of Buddha and of Christ, which both sprang from earlier myths, says that Gautama or Gautama Buddha came from heaven, was born of a virgin, welcomed by angels, received by an old saint who was endowed with prophetic vision, presented in a temple, baptized in water and fire. I'm sure you see the similarities. in that description. Christianity has a lot of its followers living in a fishbowl. So because they don't seek outside of what they already know, they can't make comparisons or parallels to what they know to understand that virtually everyone is doing the same thing, just within the nature of their traditions. So we compared Buddha to Christ. So now let's take it a little further and start comparing some other pantheons and other beliefs. This is also taken from the book called Faith of Man. It goes on to say, they include the birth of a God-man in fulfillment of a prophecy, his greeting by heralded angels, his recognition by wise men, his persecution by a tyrant, and the massacre of infants, whence he escapes the aid of deities. He is called a savior of the world and descends into hell to return once more, incarnate in the future. This is describing Buddha. And it goes on to say, Krishna in the lap of Devaki resembles not only the Christian virgin and child, but many other figures of mother goddesses. Egypt or Babylonia, or even the Hittites in Syria, as well as Rome. Mother goddesses holding babies, the Virgin Mary holding baby Jesus, Isis holding baby Horus, Krishna holding Devaki. All similarities. And if I'm not pronouncing Devaki correctly, you gotta excuse me. Even the Greeks have their own. Juno, also called Hera. Juno's represented suckling the infant, Dionysus. The sun god is everywhere, born in a dark cave, persecuted, abandoned, nourished by shepherds or by poor persons, and nursed by a goat or a wolf, but finally triumphs over demons and foes. Cyrus is even said by Diodorus to have been crucified in Scythia. And do remember, a lot of these stories, 80% of them, are older than the Christian stories. All the stories keeps repeating. If you're thinking third dimensional, you're gonna say, yeah, they copied our stuff and they kept it from us and they hid it, which they did. But now you gotta go deeper. It is ordained that every one of the Father's children be privy to the truth, so their free will cannot be taken away from them. So they are allowed to take the story and make it into their own. Where the Caucasians made a mistake is now they took the story, made it in their own, and hid the remnants of the ones who had it before them. Poseidon was hidden away by Rhea and was nursed among the flocks. Mithra issues from the caves. Dionysus is called Light Nights from the basket in which he was cradled. Jesus Christ appears in a basket in a cattle stall. So in a nutshell, it's not important. The name isn't important. The traditions in which it comes from isn't important. You're not the only one that has the Most High God on your side. The important part is to find your way back home. Use the stories to find your way back home, because the stories are telling you of the journey of the soul and how it returns back into unity